Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again, and I am here today to review Dagon, which is a 2001 movie. I am continuing my streak of 2000s horror movie reviews. And I wasn't really sure of what movie to watch today. I still have a ton of work to do before filming on Wednesday. And I actually, I'll tell you guys this because it kind of aligns with the movie I'm reviewing right now. So I made gummy worms last week that look more like real worms out of gelatin. And well, my lead actress is a vegan, and so she can't eat it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna make vegan gummy worms. And I got this stuff called agar powder, which is made out of seaweed or algae. And it was an epic failure. I cooked this stuff, and I don't know what went wrong, quite frankly. It's really kind of disappointing because I spent all that time on it and effort, and then it didn't work. And the worms, they just fell apart, and they did not set, and it did not work. But what's weird is that it still kind of turned into jelly. So I don't know what happened there. It's kind of upsetting. It's kind of a sore subject because that means that on top of all the other shit that I have to do, I'm gonna have to make more worms tomorrow, and I'm just like, okay, I wish that was done, And so yeah, got a lot of stuff to do. So I wanted to watch another movie, and this is a movie that I gotta say, I was attracted to this movie. Okay, not in that way. Okay, I know what you guys are thinking. Me and my perverted fantasies that I'm always talking about, like yesterday. It's like, oh, well, at least the main actress was hot. Honestly, too, I was trying to watch another movie of hers today, which is Vacancy 2, which is on Tubi. Because I did see the first Vacancy movie years and years and years ago, and I was really excited to see what would the sequel be like, especially because she's in it. But then it wouldn't play because my computer is so old that when I watch movies on Tubi, some of them don't work for no damn reason. So I was pulled to this movie, Dagon. I was pulled to it like the main character was pulled to the island of Mboka? Mboka. Now, this movie is an H.P. Lovecraft story. And now, first off, I'm not really a huge fan of H.P. Lovecraft stuff. I do think that, some of it's interesting, I like some of the monster designs, but overall, I really don't see anything to his work. I haven't really been that pulled to his work except for this movie, and this movie just sounded really, really creepy and good, and I love the poster. That helped a lot. And I don't know, it's just something about this movie made me want to watch it despite the fact that I'm not an H.P. Lovecraft guy. Which maybe I will be now, because it turned out this movie, it's so sad because I was in love with this movie. I thought this is probably one of the best horror movies that I've ever seen. And it's unique, it's interesting, and I love horror movies and movies in general that are interesting sometimes. I do like movies that are just, they are what they are, like Superbad, American Pie, Toy Story, but like movies like this where they're really, really interesting and deep and have heavy lore, there's something about them that just it gets me going. Like it's like the Twilight Zone where it makes you think, and it really makes you like interested in seeing what happens. And also also I gotta say this is probably 3/4 of one of the best horror movies ever still. Like, even though I hated the ending, I hated the last, like, 10 minutes, I thought it was stupid and dumb, and I thought it was queer and silly and stupid. Even though I hated the ending stuff, the rest of the movie is like a masterpiece to me. I mean, it's perfect. I mean, it's so good. I mean, you have it's all about this couple, and they're vacationing in a boat with this other couple, and they're also like millionaires because they invested in the stock market. I don't know. That's some story, and they end up getting in a boat accident, which I've noticed that in a lot of horror movies that like getting into like a car accident or a boat accident is like a cliche at this point. Like there's always car trouble, there's always boat trouble. Like that, you can never just get to one place to another without something happening. And so there's a boating accident, and they end up going to this, just the main couple. They end up going to this like fishing village, and the village it's a Spanish fishing village full of who knows what. I mean, it almost seems abandoned, and it's really, 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 really creepy. And just the imagery and the location and just everything. This movie is a prime example of how to do atmosphere, how to do a location properly. Like it takes advantage of the entire like island, this movie. And another thing that's funny about this movie is that the main guy, I haven't seen anyone else talk about this, but the main guy in this movie, he looks, he acts, and he sounds like the guy from Saw. The guy who gets killed at the end, the guy who gets left in the room. Adam? Yeah, Adam. This guy looks exactly like him, except he has glasses and he's a little nerdier. Other than that, it's bizarre because the whole movie I thought, is this that guy from Saw? Like, it's really, really weird. And then the girlfriend, she kind of looks like Karen from Californication, so really, really interesting, like, actors that they got for this movie. And also, another thing that pulled me to this movie is that it's a Stuart Gordon movie. I do think that he's a pretty damn good director. I mean, fucking Reanimator, I've seen that. I saw Edmund. Edmund is a really good movie, except it also has like a questionable ending. And then I've seen this, and I think I've seen another movie of his. Like, he's a pretty good director, and he's obviously really, really good at horror. It's really, really sad that he died because he didn't make that many movies, and he had such a unique ability to like make like, because this movie, it could have been like a really niche, like art house, like A24 crappy bullshit movie, but it feels so accessible. Like, it feels like a movie that anyone could watch, and that like there's this kind of relatability, and there's this humor that he finds in things. And there's just a vantage point that he had when he made his movies that could just make anyone want to watch them and make anyone be able to follow them all the way through. It's not just like a weird side movie that like, oh, a couple of people want to watch. It's like a movie that anyone would want to watch. And let's see, because there's some stuff to talk about. I would say that, like, a movie to compare this to is Children of the Corn, because this this movie is essentially, you could have retitled it One Man versus an Island of Fish People. That's what you could call this movie. Like, it is insane. And that's another type of movie that I love, is like a movie where like you have one person or two people facing off against like a whole entire town, or in this case a whole entire island. Really, really, really cool. And yeah, it starts off and it's just, you don't you don't want to go in these places that the characters go to. Like, and that's a marking of a good horror movie, is that like you're watching these characters walk around, they go into this hotel, and you're like, no, don't go in there. Don't. It's so cringeworthy in like a really good way, to where like it's scary. It's kind of scary. This movie's a kind of a scary, intense movie, and you really, really don't know who's gonna make it. It's pretty intense. And then the one thing that I will say about the good part of the movie is that it's kind of hard to understand, because the music volume and the sound effects are like at level 100. And then the people, the dialogue is like at 40%. So it's really hard to hear people talking in this movie. I actually had to end up putting on subtitles because I didn't want to, not understand what was going on. So yeah, basically, we find out that this entire town of people, they started worshiping like a demon god, this half human, half fish called Dagon. And then Dagon asked for human sacrifices, and they gave it to them. And then eventually the whole town died off, basically. And all that's left are fish people. And it's insane. It's such a creepy and scary movie. And it's hard to describe like why I liked this movie so much. It reminded me a lot of Messiah of Evil. And now here's the hard part, because I think that both movies, they have one huge flaw, and that is the ending. Because Messiah of Evil, I thought that was a masterpiece movie as well. It had a terrible ending. The ending was nonsensical. It was stupid. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I just remembered. Like, it was also really predictable. It was just not... It was really kind of silly. And this movie also had a very silly, stupid ending. And I think that the ending is bad because it undercut the rest of the movie. The more and more they got into the lore and into the fish people and the, all that stuff, the less I liked the movie. Because when it started off, like, there was just so much under the surface of, like, just random things. Like, for instance, the main girl, Barbara, she's a pretty good character, like, I was really kind of worried that I wouldn't like her, because they start off and it's just kind of like, okay, who are these stupid characters? But actually, you grow to like all the characters in this movie. There's only one character that I really don't like, for other reasons, and we'll get to that, but she is now all alone on this island with this priest, and he turns his head and she sees gills in his neck, and it's just little creepy ass things like that, and you're sitting there thinking, oh shit. Oh no, wait, no, she didn't see the gills in his neck. She saw webbed hands, webbed fingers, and you're just like, oh shit, like, this person is screwed. The guy on the boat, Adam, he's screwed. Everyone in this movie is fucking screwed, because this is a whole town of disgusting, monstrous fish people, and they are brutal as hell. They do not hold back. They are not like wimpy characters. Like nowadays in horror movies and movies in general, you could just basically flick a character and they fall over and die. You know, like in all the Marvel movies, DC movies, comic book movies, you know, you have the thousands and thousands of like CGI aliens or monsters that the heroes are just able to like easily kill in like 2 seconds apiece. But in this movie, you would not want to mess with the people of Mboka. You would want to stay far away from them. And it's just really cool because this movie also kind of reminded me of something that I'm currently writing. And so it gave me a lot of good inspiration. And essentially, this movie also kind of feels like a video game. Because the character, he just goes from place to place to place in this whole town, you know, trying to find a way off of this island. And it really makes you feel like it's a Resident Evil game. Like, I would say that it reminded me a lot of Resident Evil 7, which is my favorite Resident Evil game, even though I still haven't played all of them. I played the first one, I played the 7th one, and I played the 5th one and the 4th one, but I didn't beat either of them, so I wasn't really a fan of the 5th one. But anyways, let's see. I would say one of my favorite parts of the movie was there's this one part where he goes into this house. And again, the atmosphere in this movie is insane. It's insanely good. It's insanely creepy. And he goes into this house and he thinks that he's safe. And you think that he's safe. And then all of a sudden there's like a human kid and he is not a good kid. And then he gets like his dad to come out and his dad is like a giant monster. And so it's just like, fuck, like every single place this character goes, he is fucked. And it just, that's how you make a good horror movie. And that's how you make like a good like adventure movie, because you want the audience to feel like, how is this guy going to get out of this? You know, like even in Breaking Bad, you know, they did that a lot in Breaking Bad, where they would put Walter in a situation where you thought, how is he going to get out of this? And even the writers would say, like, you know, like, we wrote these situations not really knowing how he would get out of them and have to figure it out. And, yeah. So, let's see. And I apologize for my review seeming kind of like all over the place, but, I just watched the movie. I do feel a little disappointed and let down because the ending I just despised. There was some really good gore and blood effects in this movie. There was some really good, eye candy. So, I mean, this movie, it checked off all the boxes that you need in a horror movie. And, It really it's a good comparison, if you want to say that, to the movie from yesterday, The Woods. Because The Woods, it was like 90% atmosphere, which I didn't even mention, by the way. In that fucking movie, how in the hell? I mean, they have trees and they have branches from outside growing inside the school. But somehow, like, they're not causing a problem, and the school's never gotten in trouble for this by whatever, like, inspector would inspect, like, a school. It doesn't make any sense at all. But that movie, little tangent, but that movie was like 90% atmosphere and 10% horror stuff. It was like a PG-13 horror movie that somehow was R-rated. And this movie was 100% atmosphere, 100% horror, and 100% awesome until the end. It was like I couldn't. I mean, I'm just still shocked, like, how I can just find these movies that are just really, really good that I never knew about at all. I might have seen, like, the poster once or twice, but, like, this movie, it should be considered, like, a classic. Like, it is really good from almost beginning to end, and it's only in the last, like, 15 minutes where it sucks. And it's unfortunate, too, because there's a lot of good horror moments in this movie too. I mean, a lot of moments, like, I would say, like, the guy who played the priest, he might be one of the scariest characters I've ever seen in a horror movie. He just, I mean, he had this look to him where he didn't have to say anything, and you're just like, oh God, I would not want to be in a room alone with him. The character, not the actor, hopefully, but just the character, because he just looks like he's gonna kill you or he's gonna butt rape you or something. And that's another thing, is that, like, this is something that I think is, like, a trademark of Lovecraft stuff. And forgive me if I'm wrong, because I'm not really familiar, but, like, I'm assuming, there's a lot of, like, tentacle stuff in Lovecraft stories, and there's a lot of, like, this kind of rape fantasy stuff of, like, like a fish monster or something, like, because that's in this movie. Like, Dagon, he likes to rape women as, like, sacrifices, and then I guess he kills them, and then the fish people, they get to live on the island. So, yeah. Anyways, the ending part is bad, because at the end, I was really worried about this, because I was really worried that because it's like a Lovecraft story, that all the characters would have to die. And spoiler alert, they don't, okay? But, spoilers, the main girl dies. She does not, there's this part where, like, she's getting sacrificed, and there's also this whole subplot with, like, this mermaid, and she's the high priestess of the island, and she is basically sacrificing this girl out of jealousy because the main guy favors her, and she has this, like, weird attachment to the main guy. And then the monster actually, the Dagon, he actually gets to end up raping his girlfriend, and then she gets killed at the end. And I don't even think, because, I mean, he killed her while she was still pregnant, so, I mean, there's not going to be any, like, fish baby. And then you think, okay, like, I guess I could accept that, I guess that's fine. But then he has this big showdown and fight at the end, but it's all for nothing. And it was like, oh, that was just all for nothing. And it's exactly like Messiah of Evil. Where in that movie, it's like they had this whole chase sequence and fight scenes at the end, and then, oh, it's all for nothing. They're just at the behest of this town and this cult and this group of people, and in this case, people who look like fish fillets. Because that's what this movie made me think of, too. It made me think, like, I want to have a fucking fish fillet right now, Like, I want a fucking fish fillet. But, then, like, they realize that, oh, wait, you're not just any random guy. You're the guy. So there's also kind of that cliche at the end of this movie, is that the main guy, it's like, oh, he's the guy. He's the guy that they've been always waiting for, and he's the chosen one. And it's his destiny to have an incestuous marriage with the high priestess. And so he's like, oh, fuck that. And so then he sets himself on fire, and it doesn't do anything, because at that point he has evolved into a fish person. And so I guess the movie ends with them being together, and Dagon getting to continue his reign of terror on this island. And it just, I despised the ending. I despised it. I hated this ending. And you know, another thing that I gotta think about is that, like, the living standards on this island, I know it's a horror movie, but, like, the living standards here are piss poor. Even for fish people, even for disgusting fish people, a lot of what you see in the movie, to me at least, in my opinion, it doesn't make sense of, like, they have this hotel. Why do they have a hotel? Why is there a guy who just stands in the hotel waiting for supposed visitors to come in? Is that just to trap people? Like, because the hotel rooms, they're dirty and disgusting. There's green water. I mean, none of it works. None of it feels like anyone could live here. And it's a plot hole because there's a character named Ezekiel, and he's the exposition guy. And he's been living in this town since he was a child. He's an old man. So how has he been able to get by and survive in this town? Like, what do they eat? That's a big thing for me. A big plot hole. A big deal for me is that there's no point in the movie where the main character gets hungry. There's no point in the movie where the girlfriend gets hungry. All she cares about is smoking a fucking cigarette all the time, which is also disgusting and gross. And I did actually like that, though, because the main guy, he didn't like it either. But then at the end, he's like, okay, if we get out of this, you can smoke as much as you want. I thought that was kind of cute. That was kind of nice and fun. But it's just, how do they live on this island? Like, why is it even worth it? Like, the main guy even brings it up. He's like, you gotta live your life as a fucking fish person. You gotta live your life as a fucking fish. You know, he's just like, why would you want to live this life on this island? Why is this worth it? And there's no reasoning. It's just like, oh, we gotta please Dagon. And I guess you could say it's a cult, and that's what cults do. But still, it's like, there's no, like, I just don't see how they live, these people. Like, what do they eat? What do they drink? I guess they drink water, even though they're fish people. Like, what's up with that? Like, just, you know, break it down for me. Make me understand, so that I'm not sitting here thinking, like, wow, this movie's stupid. Because it's just, I don't know. And now my cat, he got up because he was upset that I was criticizing this movie. He's like, oh, God, Marco's doing another review again at 10 o'clock at night. Oh, Marco. Now he's looking at me, too. He's staring at me. And he's licking his leg. Oh, now he's sniffing my socks. Now he's sniffing my briefcase and rubbing into it. Okay, that's really weird. That's weirder than anything I saw in the whole movie. So, yeah, but again, like, I still really loved the movie until the ending, because the ending, it was silly, it was really over the top, there was some really bad CGI. You know, earlier in the movie, they didn't show Dagon, which was a really good thing. But at the end, you see this terrible CGI monster, CGI Dagon. There's a lot of bad CGI. Like, the High Priestess, she is my least favorite character because she's really hot. I mean, I definitely would have made fish fillet juniors with her. But she has CGI, like, mermaid legs, and she wheels herself around in, like, a wheelchair thing. It's really hilarious and cute, because she's like the High Priestess, and she's wheeling herself around in a wheelchair. It's fucking hilarious. But, like, yeah, I just didn't like her character, because I don't like that element of, like, Lovecraft stories, like this weird, like, fantasy romance stuff of, like, hey, what would it be like if a woman fucked a fish? What would it be like if a fish monster person put its 80 tentacles inside of a woman's 3 holes. You know, like, it's just like, who gives a fuck? Like, it's not interesting to me. Like, there's nothing about that that's interesting. It's just weird. It's just weird and just bizarre. So, yeah. But overall, I'm still glad that I watched the movie because I still loved the first 3/4, despite its flaws. I mean, very minor flaws, too, because I really had to reach the bottom of the barrel to find a couple of flaws to be like, yeah, well, what about that? What about that? Because other than that, like, this is still a really good movie. I still would probably watch it again. I guess the issue is, when would I turn the movie off? You know, like, the movie, there's no satisfying ending point. At least with Messiah of Evil, you could say, well, oh, you could turn it off as soon as they escape the house, and then you could just say, oh, well, they escaped, ha ha ha. But this movie, it's like, there's no place where you can really turn it off, and it's sad because it felt like it was building up to a really satisfying ending. Oh, God, now he's sniffing my foot. It was building up to something like Children of the Corn, where, you know, in Children of the Corn, they had a nice ending where, you know, they defeated the evil, they escaped, and that was a really good ending. Like, you know, even though that movie's kind of flawed too, but this, they just pulled the rug out from under the ending, and it wasn't good. I was really, really kind of disappointed and let down. And I thought, you know, this was kind of a waste, this movie. It kind of felt like, oh, really? Yeah. So in terms of food, it's really tough. I would say, you know, Wendy's has these new Frosties. And, you know, I tried one of them. It was like a chocolate brownie batter Frosty. I tried it like a couple of weeks ago, and it hardly had any of the brownie batter flavor, you know, and it was saying like, this is a brownie batter Frosty, and it really just kind of tasted like a chocolate Frosty with chocolate syrup in it. It really didn't like taste like a brownie batter Frosty, even though the brownie batter itself tasted pretty good. It just wasn't really like worth the eat, you know. Like, I would have just rather have had like a normal chocolate Frosty, or maybe a vanilla Frosty, because I actually prefer the vanilla Frosty to the chocolate Frosty. And I know I just made several people in the audience piss their pants in surprisement. Well, that's not a word. In shock, in horror, and fear. So yeah, I don't really have anything else to say about this movie other than fuck Dagon, and well, not fuck the movie, but just fuck the Dagon entity, whatever. And I really just wish that the ending was better, because if it was, I would have had this like in my top 25 horror movies probably of all time. But as it is, I don't even know if I could put it in the top 100, because, you know, if a movie doesn't stick the landing, if it has a bad ending, that's what you remember about the movie. You know? Like, what do you remember about Halloween 5? Personally, I remember Michael Myers sitting in a jail cell, and then a guy with a machine gun breaking him out of jail, which is like one of the stupidest things. I can't even believe I just said that with my human voice, but here we are. Yeah. So anyways, please like this video, comment. What did you think of Dagon? Did you like the ending more than me? And if you're a Lovecraft fan, what do you think about me? No, I'm just kidding, but like, maybe, like, do you think that I would like any other particular Lovecraft movies? Because I know that there's a lot. I know that there's no shortage of, like, H.P. Lovecraft adaptations, and a lot of them are really low budget and bad. In fact, I bet if I watched all of them, that this one would probably be like at the very top because, yeah. In fact, I don't think they even make H.P. Lovecraft like movies anymore. Because I never see or hear about them at all. But then I go on like streaming services and I look back at like, oh, what's that movie? That movie, that movie. They made all these adaptations in the past, but they don't anymore. In fact, I know that there's also From Beyond. I think that also might be a Lovecraft movie, but I'll have to check that out. And then please subscribe to our channel if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody. See you soon.